Global desis are increasingly debating whether life in the UK or any other developed country is indeed worth the struggle. Inflation is soaring, job markets are uncertain, and many are asking, is it time to return to India or explore any other options? Hi everyone, if you're new to the channel, this is Vivian Robert, and today we are going to be discussing a question that is doing the rounds, especially within the global desi society. A number of global desis are recommending people to leave the UK and discouraging fellow desis from coming to the UK. This seems to be a growing trend, along with a number of videos circulating online of people explaining why they're returning to their home countries or moving elsewhere. Now, I've lived in the UK since 2016. Both me and my wife are in private sector employment. And despite coming to the UK on our own terms, there has been some point in life where we've thought about moving back to India, whether due to personal reasons or due to professional frustrations. Whether you are an international student on a visa, a worker on a work permit, or even a British citizen, returning home has likely crossed your mind at some point in time. This year, I've spent more than 6 weeks in India, and I'm able to give you a balanced perspective of both the countries. So instead of just the headlines, let's focus on real life experiences. Let's dive into the first factor, job opportunities. Most of the people leave India to go to developed countries in search of better opportunities for work. The job market in the UK has been in a state of flux recently. There are some sectors that are doing really well, for example, healthcare, finance, engineering, logistics, etc. Whereas certain other fields such as tech, retail, etc. are showing signs of stagnation. According to the Office of National Statistics, the unemployment rate in the UK is about 4.2%, which is a slight increase from previous years. And also, with the number of international students coming in, the job market for freshers and early career professionals is not as vibrant as it used to be. Although there are loads of opportunities in the fields of healthcare and trucking, etc., this is not something that's immediately open to international students coming in from India or any other country. So what if you return to India? Let's look at the employment market in India. So if you are an experienced professional, either in tech or engineering related fields, it's likely that you will land a very good job when you get back to India. For young professionals and fresh graduates, the situation is not the same. The unemployment rate in India is approximately 9%, seems to be improving, but the staggering statistic is that over 80% of the unemployment is in youth aged 15 to 29 years, which means fresh graduates are still facing an uphill battle to secure decent jobs. We might have recently seen certain high-profile recruitment drives, for example, Air India, where they advertised for about 2,000 positions, and there was almost a stampede with over 25,000 young people applying for those positions. So the reality is, if you're finding it difficult to find employment in the UK, things may not drastically improve when you return to India. Now that's a point worth considering. Secondly, cost of living. The rising cost of living in the UK has been a common topic. Inflation is driving prices up for essentials such as groceries, energy, and housing, and many residents are feeling the pinch. According to the Bank of England, inflation reached a high of 6.5% in mid-2024, and food prices are seeing significant spikes. Housing remains another major challenge. Despite the government attempts to tackling the housing crisis, home prices continue to climb, making it difficult for many to purchase or even rent property in major cities. Now, let's look at the situation in India. The cost of living in India has also been rising, as professionals who return from the UK or any other developed countries with high salaries may find that the cost of living in India is indeed better, whereas the situation is not so for young graduates and people who are just climbing up the ladder in their profession. Just to put things in context, the median pay in the UK is about £34,000, whereas the median pay in India is almost 1/10 of it, approximately £3,600 per annum. So while India may appear to remain cheaper than the UK in a number of aspects, these are factors that you should certainly consider before you make the move back to India. Now the third aspect is real estate, buying or renting in the UK and India. Buying the home in the UK has become increasingly difficult, especially with the shortage of supply and also because of the high cost of home ownership. The median property in UK costs about £280,000. Now, renting is not that much simpler, especially if you go to the bigger cities like London or Manchester. Rents are among the highest in Europe. Now, I live in the Midlands, so I think it might be fair to compare Midlands and the north of England with the prices back in India. So here in the Midlands, you could get a good rental property for about £800 to £1,200. And in India, especially in cities like Bangalore and Gurgaon, rents are reaching 50,000 to 60,000 easily. India's real estate sector has also seen a significant growth. In cities like Bangalore, Gurgaon, Mumbai, etc., it will be almost impossible for you to find a decent property for under 1 crore. Still, in either country, real estate is a long-term financial commitment, and you should carefully consider your situation before you go ahead. The next factor we'll come to is environment and weather. Whether it is in the UK or countries like Canada or rest of Europe, etc., we constantly moan about constant rain, gloomy skies, harsh winters, etc. But one of the things to consider is the environment in these countries is fairly clean, low levels of pollution, and there are better public services for waste management and water supply. In contrast, the weather in India is fantastic. I absolutely love the weather in Bangalore, having grown up there and spent most of my life in Bangalore. But air pollution, water shortages, and poorly managed urban infrastructure can be a major concern. I'm not even talking about traffic here, because traffic congestion seems to be a major issue in most of the large metros around the world. But combine that with poor public transport infrastructure in most of the major cities in India, I think the countries in the West do better as far as alleviating traffic congestion is concerned. One more aspect to consider before making the move is healthcare. The NHS in the UK is often cited as one of UK's greatest achievements, providing free healthcare for all of us. However, there are long waiting times, especially for non-emergency appointments. For example, I have been waiting for over 30 weeks in order to get just a normal diagnostic appointment. Whereas in India, if you have the means and if you know the right people, you can get yourself treated in probably a couple of hours and definitely within a couple of days. If you are the type who can afford good quality private healthcare and are adequately insured, moving to India might be a wise move. And finally, let's talk about the non-tangibles. We're talking about society, culture, and family ties. UK society is often described as being very individualistic, with an emphasis on personal independence and self-reliance. This approach can lead to a sense of isolation, and there are reports saying that over a third of the adults in the UK are lonely, either all the time or most of the time. Now compare that with India. India is a country that prioritizes community and family. Social gatherings and family get-togethers, although are becoming less frequent, they are definitely more than what you would find in the UK. I'm not sure if I made it any easier for you, but all said and done, life in the UK, as in India, comes with challenges and opportunities. So if you are on the fence and considering whether to move back to India, it is essential to weigh the pros and cons based on your own personal situation. Whether these are job opportunities, cost of living, family life, healthcare, etc., you are the only person who can be the best judge for your circumstances. If this video helped you achieve a balanced perspective on life in the UK compared to life in India, please consider subscribing to our channel, and we will bring you more such videos in future about insights into life abroad and life back home.